There are moments in life when the weight is unbearable, when the silence is deafening, and when every prayer seems to dissolve into the ceiling. We cry out in desperation, in hospital rooms, empty bedrooms, or behind locked bathroom doors, and heaven appears shut. The need is real, the pain is urgent, but the answer doesn't come when we think it should. In those moments, it's easy to wonder if God is even listening. We assume his absence is evidence of his neglect, but that's only because we're bound by time. He isn't. We live by the clock. We measure everything by seconds, minutes, deadlines. But God does not move within the rhythm of our expectations. He is never late because his timing is not subject to ours. What feels like delay is often design. What feels like silence is often strategy. God doesn't show up when we want him. He shows up when the moment has matured, when the lesson has taken root, when the story is ready for the turn. Sometimes he waits for the fire to get hot before he steps into it. Sometimes he waits until the fourth watch of the night when the storm has done its worst, before he walks across the water. He waits until the stone is rolled in front of the tomb before he speaks life into what we thought was dead. That's not abandonment, that's orchestration. The truth is, if God came when we wanted, we'd never learn trust. We'd never learn patience. We'd never learn to walk by faith instead of sight. His absence teaches us to seek. His timing teaches us to believe. And when he arrives, when the breakthrough finally comes, it's undeniable. It's divine. Because only a God outside of time could make everything line up so perfectly. So yes, sometimes it feels like he's not there when we need him, but when we look back, we realize he was never late. He was just waiting for the exact right moment to be exactly who he promised to be. And that moment, without fail, is always on time. And when that moment comes, when God finally steps in, it isn't subtle, it's not small, it doesn't whisper, it thunders. It redeems all the waiting, rewrites the sorrow, and reminds you why the delay had to happen in the first place. Because if he had come sooner, you might have settled for less. You might have leaned on your own strength. You might have missed the miracle in the making. What felt like abandonment was preparation. What felt like silence was sacred ground being formed under your feet. You see, God doesn't rush. He's not pressured by your panic. He doesn't react. He responds. With wisdom, with precision, with power. And when he responds, it shifts everything. The doors that were sealed open without a touch. The hearts that were hardened melt like wax. The resources that were out of reach fall into your hands like rain. Not because you forced it, but because the fullness of time had come. This is the paradox of faith, trusting a God you can't trace, believing in a plan you don't understand, waiting on a timing that doesn't match your pain. But in the end, you learn that faith isn't about getting what you want when you want it. It's about believing that the one who holds time also holds your life, and he is never late. And so you begin to rest differently. You don't panic the way you used to. You don't despair at every delay. You begin to recognize the pattern, the silence before the song, the struggle before the shift. You stop asking, "Where is God?" and start declaring, "He's coming." You begin to expect him in the fire, in the night, in the places most people give up. Because the truth you now carry deep in your bones is this: God may not show up when you call, but he always shows up right on time. And when he shows up, everything changes, not just around you, but inside you. The pain doesn't leave you empty, it makes you deeper. The waiting doesn't leave you bitter, it makes you wiser. You begin to see that the very moments you thought would break you were the ones that built the foundation for unshakable faith. Because when God arrives, he doesn't just fix the situation, he transforms you. You stop needing immediate answers because you've seen too much of his faithfulness to doubt him now. You begin to thank him for the prayers he didn't answer on your schedule because now you understand. They would have robbed you of what was greater, the job that fell through, the relationship that ended, the door that never opened. What felt like rejection was protection. What felt like delay was divine alignment. And this is the beauty of walking with a God who is always on time. He teaches you to live above the clock. He teaches you to endure the night, not because morning is guaranteed by your efforts, but because He promised it would come. And when morning does come, it comes with joy, with clarity, with peace that doesn't make sense and strength that doesn't run dry. So no, He may not show up the moment you cry out. But if you keep holding on, if you dare to trust through the silence, through the ache, through the in-between, you'll find Him standing right there in the fullness of time, doing what only He can do, restoring, redeeming, and revealing that He was never far, never late, never unaware. He is not the God of your timeline. He is the God of perfect timing, and that is better, that is safer, that is holy. Because when it's His time, it's the right time, every single time. So now you stand with a different kind of faith, not a shallow hope for things to go your way, but a deep-rooted trust in a God who has never failed you, even when it felt like He had. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with assurance, not with control, but with surrender. You stop begging and start believing. You stop striving and start resting, because you've come to know that late is just a word we made up. God doesn't deal in delays. He deals in destinies. You begin to realize in every season, He was always writing something bigger than the moment. Every time He waited, it was because He was building something that would last, something that couldn't be shaken by emotion or circumstance, something eternal. So now when it hurts, you don't panic, you pray. When it's quiet, you don't withdraw. You lean in, you wait, not with despair, but with expectation, because you've learned the rhythm of heaven. You've learned that He moves in purpose, not panic. And that's enough. He may not show up when you think you need Him most, but when He comes, He'll show you that He was never gone, that His silence was presence in disguise, that His delay was love wearing a clock you couldn't read. And when He arrives, you'll understand. You'll look back at the pain, the waiting, the wondering, and it will all make sense. Not because it was easy, not because it was fair, but because it was timed perfectly by a God who never forgets, never missteps, and never ever shows up too late. He is always, always on time. And now you carry this truth like a flame in the dark, a quiet fire that won't go out when life gets cold again. Because storms will return, silence will come again, prayers will feel unanswered. But now you know, not just in theory, but in the marrow of your soul, that delay is not denial, that silence is not absence, that your cries don't fall into an empty sky, but into the hands of a God who hears before you speak and moves before you see. You begin to live with less fear, less need to control, less anxiety in the waiting room, because you've been there before, and you saw Him walk through the door right when it mattered most. So next time, you'll still cry, you'll still wonder, but you won't fall apart, because you know how the story ends. You know the author. You trust the pace of his pen. Let them call it foolish. Let them say it's blind. Let them wonder why you still believe after everything you've lost. But they don't understand. You've seen too much. You've tasted too much grace. You've watched too many graves turn into gardens, too many battles end in breakthrough, too many no's turn into better yeses. So you wait, not as a victim, but as a witness. You endure, not as one forgotten, but as one favored. And when the clock seems too slow, when the pain threatens to speak louder than the promise, you whisper to yourself what you now know for certain: He's coming. He's not late. He's never been. He never will be. God is never there when you need Him, but He is always, always on time. So now you rise. Not because everything is fixed, not because all the answers came, but because hope has returned to its rightful place. Not in the outcome, but in the one who holds it. You stop measuring God by what you see and start trusting Him for who He is. You don't need signs to know He's working. You don't need proof to keep believing. You've learned to live in the tension, to walk in the unseen, to breathe even when there's no breakthrough yet. Because this is what real faith looks like. It doesn't rush God's hand. It holds it. It waits with tears still on your face. It worships in the hallway before the door opens. It smiles in the storm, not because the wind stopped, but because you're no longer afraid of being undone. You've been here before, and He came. You'll be here again, and He will come. So go ahead, rest now, let the weight fall off, let the striving cease, trust the pace of grace, trust the delays, trust the divine detours, because somewhere ahead, beyond what you can see right now, a door is already being opened, a stone is already being rolled away, and your miracle is already unfolding on a timeline that cannot fail. The time will come, He will come, and when He does, you'll know it wasn't late, it wasn't random, it was perfect, it was right on time. So as you step back into the ordinary, carry this extraordinary truth with you. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken. The silence of God is not the absence of God. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every unanswered question, it's not wasted, it's woven into something larger, something eternal, something holy. When the ache returns, when the delay stretches longer than expected, when others receive their answers and yours still feels out of reach, remember, you are on heaven's calendar, and heaven never misses an appointment. Speak it over your waiting. He's coming. Whisper it through the disappointment. He's not late. Declare it in the darkest moments. He is still good. And believe it with every breath you have left. He will be right on time. And when the moment comes, when the doors swing open, when the healing breaks forth, when the answer arrives wrapped in quiet wonder, fall to your knees, not just in gratitude, but in awe of a God who never forgot you. Not for a second. Let this be your song in the waiting and your shout in the deliverance. I waited, I trusted, and He came. Not when I wanted, but exactly when I needed. Right on time. And after all is said and done, you won't just remember what you prayed for. You'll remember how you became someone in the waiting. You'll remember the strength that was shaped in silence, the character that formed in the shadows, the depth that came from the drought. You'll look back not just in awe of what God did, but in awe of who He made you while you waited. You'll no longer just tell people about the outcome. You'll testify about the in-between, about the nights that tested your faith and the mornings that renewed it. Your story won't just be about answered prayers. It will be about unwavering trust, a trust that was refined in fire, not forged in comfort. And this will become your legacy, not a life where everything went your way, but a life that pointed to a God who never failed you, a life that waited well, a life that believed through silence, a life that said again and again, even if He's quiet, I'll still trust Him. Even if I don't see the way, I'll still walk it. You'll speak gently to others who are waiting too, because you'll know how it feels. You'll know what it's like to beg for God to come and hear only stillness, and you'll look them in the eye, steady and soft, and say, don't give up, He's coming, and He's worth the wait. This is the quiet confidence of those who've been through it and come out with faith still intact. Not flashy, not loud, just anchored, just sure, just ready. Because now you know, deep down, beyond all doubt, God is never there when you think you need Him, but He is always, forever, faithfully, on time. And when the next season of waiting comes, and it will, you'll face it differently. Not because the ache is easier, but because your anchor is deeper. You'll remember this moment, this truth, this quiet unfolding of trust. And you'll say with a settled heart, He came through before. He will again. You'll no longer measure your faith by how quickly things happen, but by how deeply you believe even when they don't. You'll stop chasing proof and start walking in peace. You'll live with a steadiness that surprises people, a calm that doesn't make sense. And when they ask you why, you won't point to a formula or a method or a miracle. You'll simply point to Him. You'll carry this truth into every valley and onto every mountaintop, that the waiting is not punishment, it's preparation, that the delay is not the end, it's a doorway, and that God's timing doesn't just deliver what you've asked for, it delivers what you didn't even know you needed. One day, when all the pieces come together, when you stand on the other side of what once felt impossible, you'll weep, not because it was easy, but because it was sacred. You'll see the fingerprint of God on every twist and turn, and you'll realize the silence taught you how to hear, the stillness taught you how to see, and the waiting, it taught you how to walk by faith. So breathe. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're exactly where you're meant to be, on the timeline of a God who sees the end from the beginning and works all things, even this, together for good. And one day, when someone else is sitting where you are now, confused, tired, wondering if God is ever going to show up, you'll take their hand, and with eyes full of peace, you'll say, "Hold on. It's okay to not have the answer yet. It's okay to feel like He's late, but I promise, you'll see, He may not come when you want Him, but He will come when it's right." And when He does, you'll never question the timing again. And maybe that's the miracle too, not just that God shows up, but that somehow, through it all, you were transformed. Not hardened, but softened. Not cynical, but surrendered. Your faith didn't die in the delay. It matured, it deepened, it became real. You no longer worship a God of immediate rescue. You worship a God of eternal wisdom. You've stopped demanding that He meet you on your schedule. Instead, you've learned to meet Him in the mystery. You've learned to walk with Him in the questions, not just the answers. And in doing so, you've found something greater than what you were praying for. You've found Him. You've discovered that His presence is not just the reward at the end of the journey. It is the journey. It's in the long nights, the quiet mornings, the ordinary steps where nothing seems to change, and yet everything is changing. Inside of you, around you, because He's there. Not distant, not delayed, just different than you expected. And now, this is the truth you carry into every day forward, that the waiting seasons are not wasted. That divine timing is never early, never late, but always exact. And that even when you cannot trace His hand, you can always trust His heart. So walk on, wait well, and live like someone who knows what the world has forgotten, that the God who seems slow is always on time. Like, comment, and subscribe.